this computer. So welcome, I'm Edwin Rutch from the Extinction Rebellion Empathy Circle work group. And this Empathy Cafe is, we're going to be using the Empathy Circle process to explore how Extinction Rebellion can build a facilitator army to include democracy building tools into the DNA of Extinction Rebellion and of society in general. And I'm just going to give a short outline. We're going to have a 10-minute introduction about the XR Future Democracy Hub and the Facilitator Army concept from Paul. And then there's going to be about a 9-minute video of how to take part in an empathy circle. And then we'll have roughly 70 minutes to go into small groups, empathy circles, and do empathic listening with each other and brainstorm and talk about what tangible steps we're going to be taking. And then we'll come back with about, depending on how many people we have, we're about 12, so probably about 20 minutes before the end. We'll come back and then do a debrief, and everyone will have a minute or so to share. So with that, I think we're ready. And then I'll also put in the link again, in case any new person came in. That's a link to our shared Google Doc for any note-taking, and also for any contact info that you'd like to share. So with that, I think we're ready to jump into like about 10 minutes. Paul, just talking about the Future Democracy Hub and sort of what you're looking for, what sort of steps you'd like people to take.
Thanks, Edwin. Yeah, it might not take 10 minutes, but it's great to have that long if it's needed. So hello, everybody. Thanks for coming out today, or coming online today. You're not actually out, I suppose. And so I'm just going to say a little bit about what we're trying to do, and then hopefully we'll give you a little bit of context for the conversations you'll have in the breakout rooms. So in Extinction Rebellion, we believe that democracy is in very much need of an upgrade. And what we also say is that the solutions, many of the solutions already exist in the world. This is one process that is proving very effective, and there are many others that can be chosen accordingly to the situation. But the challenge is that they're not widespread in the culture. So what we're aiming to do is to support the embedding into the DNA of the culture of these new tools and new ideas, so that we can increase the cultural collective decision-making capability, because that's effectively what democracy is. It's collective decision-making, and with that, a massive increase in participation. So there's a lot of people disaffected by mainstream politics, the party political system, and we're very much looking at the Buckminster Fuller approach to build the solution rather than bring the old system down without anything to replace it. So we're really looking to master that craft, and it's going to involve a lot of working closely together, learning from each other, massive skill sharing, and support getting out there and doing it. So we're looking to create something that's very dynamic, that people come along and get involved with, and then take away and take action. So one of the measures that we could use is how many people are coming to sessions and feeling included and getting experience of a deliberative session that's actually an effective one that includes them fully. Because we can do a lot of talking about democracy, but it's only when we actually go out there and do it, does it become a reality. So what we've created so far is a website, xrdemocracy.uk, and it has a set of tools in there at the moment, and they can be added to. They can decide which ones are working best, and some of them may drop off, and the ones might come in, and essentially use that as a hub of support for the kind of things that we're looking to see in the world in terms of democracy. And the way that we are supporting people at the moment, and this is why we're in that inquiry, like what we're doing today, is how to evolve this. But at the moment, it looks like we've got a Lumio discussion platform so that the people who are coming together can share information and learn from each other in that online permanent way. That's always available, and that's quite active. It's been quite successful so far. The other second aspect is that we're going to be delivering lots of trainings. So people who, like Edwin and other empathy circle experts, coming along and explaining this particular process, they could coach on further details about how to become more proficient in running empathy circles. And the same thing with all the other tools. So we're looking to run a lot of those workshops, a lot of them online, obviously, because we've got people in lots of different places. But of course, face-to-face workshops are ultimately what we're looking to provide in individual communities, because they're considered to be most effective on that particular platform. And then the third thing that we're providing at the moment is something called the Conversation of the Month, which can be changed obviously regularly, and that's just another way of providing resources so people can take away and run themselves. So if we're looking to cultivate a national or international conversation about a particular topic, it could be anything at all. I mean, obviously you want to pick something that people want to talk about and it's on top for them, but that resource can be provided, and then that exercise can be done, and then in some cases we can integrate all of those results and re-disseminate those. And just one more thing about the very basics, and I'm sure I'm preaching to people who already know all this stuff in many cases, but in terms of creating resources, every kind of deliberative session will have three parts to it. There's an input part where if you're talking about a particular topic, you've got some information and some context around it, so you know the facts around the subject. So for example, yesterday I ran a session in St Albans in England about the general election policies from all the parties running in the general election. We didn't tell them which parties they belonged to, but they just had the policies. But in order to run that session, they needed to see the policies. So we had the policies written out on pieces of paper so they could look at them and then digest them, and then go into the second phase, which is a deliberation. So we're going to be doing an example of a deliberation today, empathy circles methodology. There are lots of other methodologies and deliberation ways that you can use. And once that's done, people have a chance to listen to what other people think and bring their own views, and then deliberate and obviously get a much more rounded understanding of the terrain. Then they go into the third phase, which is they've reached a position themselves. How do we integrate all the individual positions into a final kind of summary position, which then could be used to influence whatever decision might be being made. So everything we're trying to do is kind of encapsulated in that particular process. I think that's about it. There's lots of great tools on the website already. Some of them are entry level, some of them are a bit more in depth, some of them are quite advanced, so people can pick and choose where they fit.
Perhaps I could share the screen of the Future Democracy Hub and just give a quick review of it. I put the link in, and so you can go to xrdemocracy.uk. And do I just give a quick rundown just of what we're seeing?
Yep. So the first bit is just a summary, and you can see the three pillars: the radical inclusivity, active listening, and trust in the process, yourself and others. There's more information if you want to read a bit more about that. There's a few videos just to introduce the principles and the concept of the Future Democracy Hub. And then this bit here, there's a whole load of links. Then if you go further down, there's the individual tools. So we've got talk shop, empathy circles. Yeah, you can see them all there. And for each one of those colored lines, you can click on it and you'll get a little video about the individual tool. And then there's a link to the website of that particular offering where you can get the resources and any further information. So there's plenty to look at there.
Okay, great, thanks. And so I was going to give an introduction to how to do an empathy circle. Oh, just somebody asked about the time. We go for 2 hours. So just to give a heads up, if you came late, didn't hear that. And also,
the video will be available to everyone.
Yeah. And if anybody came, Carolina, perhaps you could, oh, I can do that, just sharing our Google Doc that put that in again for anyone that came late. And you can go there and sign up, add your name, contact info. It'll be our shared space for brainstorming. So I'm going to give a short 9-minute.
I have one request. Sorry,
yeah.
Just super quick. Can we just do our just state our name and where we're calling from? Real quick? I'd love to just know where
sure. Yeah, usually we do that. We're anticipating a larger group, so we can't.
Did that happen already?
It did not happen, but we can do it real quick. I'm Edwin Rutch calling from San Francisco Bay Area. Lou?
Lou Zweier. I'm from Northern California, USA.
Paul Thistlethwaite from St Albans in England.
Carolina?
Carol, Gdańsk, north of Poland.
Jane? You're muted. Still muted.
Hello, from Germany.
Okay, there you go, Jane.
Okay, hi again. Sorry, I'm Jane from Victoria in Australia.
Oh, wow. Must be late there.
Yeah, no,
Sally?
actually it's early Thursday
Oh,
morning.
early. Sally? Just introduce yourself, where you're from. Oh, we're not hearing your audio. No audio. Okay, Dan?
I'm Dan Feldman, and I'm in Denver. And one thing that we can all do, if you click on your name on your screen, you can click on it or double click on it, and then you can type out your location. So everybody,
cool.
You can rename yourself.
Okay, Justin?
Yep,
Oh.
I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area. I'm in Oakland right now.
Alrighty, Bill?
Yeah, I'm Bill. I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area, part of the empathy team.
Melanie?
I'm Melanie, and I'm in upstate New York, but I'm part of XRNYC.
And Peter?
Yeah, hi guys, from Swansea in Wales, UK.
Franek?
Hi, I'm Franek. I'm from west of Poland.
Joe?
From Germany, Pixar, Germany.
Okay, Anna?
Hi, I'm in Suffolk in the UK.
Okay, great. So I'm going to share the video here, and let's see, Windows Player. Are you able to see that?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, sorry, you gotta, I always forget, when you share, you have to say share with computer sound. Sorry, Messenger, Chrome, Media Player, there we go. All right, so this is how to take part in Empathy Circle. I'm Edwin Rutch, founding director of the Center for Building a Culture of Empathy, and I've been working for many years on researching, using, and developing practices that build a more empathic society and world. I'd like to welcome you to this short presentation on how to take part in a basic empathy circle. I'm excited to share this practice because I find it to be the most effective gateway or first step practice for building empathic skills and way of being. I firmly believe that if the practice is widely adopted, it can contribute to greater well-being for all people and for the planet. So what is an empathy circle? An empathy circle is a structured dialogue process that supports constructive dialogue in small groups. And the process increases mutual understanding, connection, and trust between participants by ensuring that each person feels fully heard, seen, and understood to their satisfaction. The practice is based on mutual empathic listening, which is also called active listening, deep listening, or reflective listening. So why might you want to participate? Here is a list of some of the many benefits of taking part in an empathy circle. So 1, it is an easy practice to learn and host. 2, it develops active listening skills. I find it's the best practice for that. 3, each participant is seen, heard, and understood to their satisfaction. The more silent people in the group get an equal chance to be heard. 4, it builds trust. When people know they will be heard, that really builds trust. 5, it supports team building. 6, it helps bridge personal, social, and political divides. 7, it heads off conflicts before they happen. 8, it helps resolve existing conflicts. You can bring a conflict into an empathy circle, and it is amazing to see how it can be unraveled and resolved. 9, it offers emotional support and healing. This is practice is at the core of emotional healing professions. And finally, 10, it is a foundation for other community building practices. So next, let's look at the step-by-step, how to take part. An empathy circle starts with 2 to 7 participants. Here on the screen, we have 4 participants, which I find is an ideal number. There are 4 basic roles, and the roles rotate among the participants as the empathy circle unfolds. 1, the speaker is the first person to speak. 2 is active listener who actively listens to the speaker. There's the silent listeners, they quietly observe and witness. And the facilitator who organizes, schedules, and hosts the circle. They also do the timekeeping, and they have some experience with the process and help keep participants in the process. However, everyone has the responsibility to hold the process and the practice. So to begin with, the facilitator will start the empathy circle. They welcome the participants. They lead introductions if the participants don't know each other. The facilitator invites participants to give short introductions, for example, their name, where they're from, and something personal about themselves. The facilitator then reviews the empathy circle process to remind everyone how it works. They announce the discussion topic, if there is one. Even if there is a topic, you can always talk about what is alive for you. That is what is on your mind in the moment. And 5, they set the speaker time limits, perhaps 5 minutes, for example. And the facilitator then asks who would like to start to be the first speaker. So at that point, the participant volunteers to be the first speaker. As speaker, you select who will be your active listener, and you can select anyone that you want. You speak about the topic given or whatever is alive for you, and so you'll speak a bit until you have maybe expressed an idea or two, and then you want to pause to give the active listener a chance to recap what they understand that you are saying and feeling. If you say too much, the listener may have difficulty in reflecting it. As the active listener, you are listening to the speaker to get an understanding of what they're saying and what is important to them. You are giving them your full attention as a supportive companion on their inner journey and exploration. When the speaker pauses, you recap your understanding of what they said and how they feel by reflecting the essence of that in your own words. You can summarize, paraphrase, or even say the speaker's words back to them. Even though you may have a strong impulse to respond with your own ideas, judgments, analysis, advice, and sympathy, or even questions, resist the impulse to do so because these common responses block the speaker from moving along their internal journey. You'll be able to say whatever you want when it is your turn to be the speaker. Just do your best. If you don't reflect the understanding to the speaker's satisfaction, you can always they can always say it again. Then, as speaker, you check: do you feel understood to your satisfaction? If you do not feel understood, you can say it again, perhaps in different words. If you do feel understood, continue sharing. Again, after speaking a bit, pause to give your active listener a chance to recap their understanding of what you said. As the active listener, you again share your understanding of what the speaker said and meant. The cycle of speaking and reflecting continues until you, as the speaker, do not have anything else you'd like to say, or until you get a signal from the timekeeper. If you get a signal from the timekeeper, then finish up what you're saying in a sentence or two. After you get a final reflection, you can end your turn by saying something like, "I feel fully heard," or something like that to indicate you are done with your speaking turn. At that point, the roles then rotate. The active listener becomes the speaker. The person they select becomes the new active listener. For everyone having equal time, it is good to select someone that hasn't spoken lately, but it is your choice. The others in the circle become the silent listeners. This process of taking turns in speaking and active listening continues for whatever time is allotted for the empathy circle. For fostering deeper dialogues, I find 2 hours is a good amount of time. And this was just a very short introduction. The best way to learn the practice is just by taking part and doing it. There is more in-depth material on taking part in an empathy circle and facilitating one at empathycircle.com. I look forward to seeing you in the circle. Okay, so I was showing that video so it would give me time to do creating the rooms here, so that kind of frees me up for that. So we're going to be going into our breakout rooms, and we have we're doing 3 rooms. I'll be facilitating the first one, Lou the second one, and Bill the third one. And and you can use this, I'm putting the link in again. This is a space where you can go into the Google Doc, and if you're just a silent listener, you can actually take some notes here about the ideas that are generated, and we'll be harvesting those later. And let's see. When we go into the circle, Bill and Lou, you'll just hit the record button, just a reminder about that, to record the calls. And let me see if there's anything else. Recorded, doc, note taking. Anything I forgot?
What time are we supposed to come back?
We have about 20 before the end.
I just want to ask you to put me in some room because I was out of the
Okay,
call.
you'll be in one with Bill.
Okay.
So we started at 11:30, which means we're ending at 1:30. So we're coming back 20 minutes before 1:30, so 1:10.
Yeah, our time, but we have so many different time zones here.
Okay.
And see, sure.
An hour and 10 minutes, isn't it?
Hour 10 minutes or so, yeah. Okay, so we're off. We're going to open the rooms and just get started with doing the empathic listening on the topic. You want to state the topic again, Paul? Or
how can we best take the steps to build a facilitator army for embedding deliberative tools in the DNA of the culture.
And what tangible steps would you like to take personally too? You're really wanting that tangible part too, is like taking action.
Yeah, it's very much about what tangible steps we need. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, here we go. So I think we're ready to start. Oh, I forgot to mention the time limits. We'll go, since there's only, Sally not joined, let's get her to assign to room 1, hopefully.
Assume you're already recording, are you, Edwin?
Oh yeah, I'm already recording.
Yeah, you don't need reminding.
Okay. You're muted.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you. Dan?
You want me to mute?
Yes, please mute. So we're gonna do 4-minute turns. Would somebody take time? Is there somebody who can take time? Do you have a clock there? Just hold up a paper or something that says 4 minutes or something when the time is up. Make a sound, because Sally's being on the phone may not be able to hear it. I mean, see it.
I'll have it beep or whatever. Is that?
Oh, okay. You've got a timer, Dan?
I should have. Yeah. Yeah.
Dan said he would do it. He's got a timer.
Oh,
so,
okay.
4 minutes. Is that correct?
Yeah, 4 minutes. So whoever would like to start on our question of how do we build this facilitator army, and what would you like to do? You could perhaps start. Someone can start by speaking to me, and I'll model the listening.
I can start, Edwin. It's interesting because I don't have an answer to your question. I have a response to it.
Okay, so what I'm hearing there is you don't have an answer to it, but you do have a response that you'd like to share.
I do. Whenever I hear war metaphors, I get somewhat sidetracked into, well, thoughts about violence. And I would love to, and I don't have an alternative word, but I would love to come up with one, and I think that might be a tangible action to do to spread the skills of facilitation.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that you don't like war metaphors. You're not sure of another term to use, meaning that for the army, but that might be a tangible step to address that.
Yeah, yeah, and as you say that, I'm actually thinking of some other words. Facilitation hive, a flock of facilitators. I keep wanting more nature metaphors. Mountain of facilitators, a forest of facilitators.
Okay, so I'm hearing a lot of ideas are starting to, once you heard a reflection of what you were saying, then it kind of opened the door for a lot of ideas, like a flock of facilitator, a forest of facilitators. So just a lot of different terms are starting to come up.
Yeah, a facilitator field. Field of facilitators. Yeah, I feel like I would really love to see a nature metaphor there, since we're trying to grow this inside a self-organizing organism, a part of a self-organizing organism. And I think, and one of the things that comes up for me is that would be a shift towards a partnership culture, which I think is what we're looking for, and a shift away from the sort of domination paradigm of where war even exists. That maybe in the partnership paradigm, there is no war.
So you'd like to shift to sort of a metaphor about nature, because that's what the organization is about. It's a self-organizing organization, and you'd like to shift away from sort of domination type culture to sort of more of a nature-based terminology and self-organizing terminology.
Yeah.
It kind of resonate with the essence of what we're trying to create.
Yeah. And I think it might make it more attractive to more people who would join XR. I would imagine that most people who join this kind of a group, an effort, a movement, are in a sense already skewed toward the interest in changing paradigms and the paradigm of nature. So, yeah.
So the people who are joining XR are already into sort of a nature paradigm, so it would sort of resonate with them when they join. Oh, that was the time too.
So. Yes, thank you. I feel heard.
So then I'll speak to Paul.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't plan this. It's like this issue of the Army topic has come up before, and I just want to say, Paul, I did not plan this.
So what I'm hearing there is, well, you're expressing you didn't plan this to come up, but you know, I'm hearing a little bit of humor in there about this. You know, it's like a little bit playful, isn't it?
Yeah, because it's an issue that's come up, right? Because every time I post about the facilitator army, somebody says, "Oh, I don't, not comfortable with that term." I've kind of gotten used to it a little bit. It seemed like a lot of people were seeming interested in it, or it kind of created some dialogue and something. So I kind of appreciated that. But it is sort of it can be seen as a military, metaphor, even though it can also be seen, as a not of it. There is description of it not being a metaphor, but military metaphor. So
So what I'm hearing is that when you've posted it and several times on this particular topic, because you're running these workshops, it's been something of a conversation provoker, and there has been in your kind of reporting the issue with the military kind of aspect of this particular term, but you've kind of got used to it. But there is that conversation.
Yeah, I sort of like the idea of like, it means like you're organized, you're focused, there's a whole group. So I get that energy, and something like a swarm maybe isn't quite that, task focused. So I don't know what the answer is. People, we did a poll, people liked facilitator fellowship, kind of Lord of the Rings kind of metaphor of, the hobbits and all that kind of doing their fellowship of the ring. I see. We had so that was one that seemed to be the most popular. But
so you kind of reporting there about the fact that you like the element of it being quite organized and active. That kind of word encapsulates that for you. But it does carry some kind of other baggage as well. And you mentioned that the conversations online, the poll particularly, has come up with some other ideas, some of which have been quite popular, like fellowship, the link to Lord of the Rings. I think that.
Yeah. So I don't know. For me, it's your, it's the hubs, the XR Democracy Hub, project, and I'm just putting it out there. I just see it as your kind of decision and I guess these are all just sort of points of insight, I guess. Yeah.
Mm. So, well, your position is you're kind of putting it out there, and it's reflecting back really what's kind of coming back to you, because you're obviously front and center in some of these things, but you see it as very much the future democracy hub, related people, all the people connected to its responsibility and mandate to decide.
Yep, I feel fully heard. Thank you.
Thanks. Dan, you okay to listen to me at the same time as timing?
Yes, I just perfect timing there. Just a second. Wait. Got locked out. Okay, I'm ready to start timing, and I'm ready to listen.
Great, thanks, Dan. So yeah, I'm going to talk about the same topic, and I really valued what you were saying, Melanie, because I feel very torn about this personally, but I totally get the association with military, and for some people, and it's probably front and center for a lot of people. So that is definitely an issue.
What I heard you say, Paul, was that you resonate with what Melanie shared with regard to your reservation about the metaphor of armies, and you're really torn, and I guess you're looking for something different.
Yeah, thank you. And the bit that I get stuck on is that we really, for me, really need it to encapsulate this sense of action, and something that's quite a big growing movement. I mean, 1,000, 100,000, 10,000 people really all working together, and certain terms just don't do that. And so while there is all this kind of association with the word army, I haven't come up with or seen any other one that kind of removes the metaphor of kind of army, of war, but keeps all of the other aspects. And I think it's on balance not as good.
So what I'm hearing is that you're there's a certain ambivalence that I'm hearing with the army metaphor versus the nature-oriented metaphors, in that the army metaphor is encapsulating this sense of activity, this sense of forward movement, and somehow the nature metaphors, from what you've discovered so far, haven't really been capturing that aspect of things for you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's perfect. And that's pretty much it, really, for me. And on this topic, I just think joining a facilitator army, I mean, it's working because people are coming, and it's not exclusive to kind of war. You can have an army of photographers, you can have an army of whatever, and people wouldn't ever think that those army of photographers are in any way violent. So I don't think they would ever think that an army of facilitators are in any way kind of associated with violence. So I don't think it's a problem in that respect. But it keeps coming back up. So if we don't deal with it, then it's likely to carry on, keep coming up, which then is a distraction, because we're not dealing with actually how we build this group of people to get this done.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that while an army of facilitators or an army of photographers or something looked at in a totality doesn't encapsulate the full negativity of the army metaphor, it still is creating ambivalence and some distraction for people within the community. And if we don't come up with a more satisfying metaphor or term, then this is going to continue to be an issue.
I'm smiling because quite often these empathy circles, you find the person who's repeating back to you is articulating it better than you did yourself. So I just want to acknowledge you for that. It's a very good listening and reflection. Thank you. I feel fully heard.
Thank you. Thank you. Cool. I would like Melanie to be my listener.
If you can choose whoever you want, but it's nice to have someone who hasn't spoken like Sally. I just want to mention.
Oh, is Sally? Oh,
if she's there. I don't know if she's still there. We're not
she's...
seeing her picture and not. Oh, there you are.
She's there.
Are you
Hi,
here?
Sally. Would you like to be my listener? Yes? Okay.
Need to turn on your audio.
I can't hear you.
I can try unmuting you. No, it's not. Are you able to unmute?
I think, Sally, you did it earlier, didn't you? You did manage to unmute, so it was working.
She completely disappeared. Non-video participants. Okay.
Are you able to unmute, Sally? Oh, there you go.
Did that work?
Yeah,
sorry.
that worked.
That worked.
Okay.
Where did
Sometimes
Melanie go?
I can't press my button, I guess, because I'm at 33% and I'm plugged in. So you won't see my face, but go ahead.
Okay.
I'll be an active listener.
Okay. Thank you very much, Sally. Okay, I'm starting the timer now. This is an interesting topic, and I hear the concerns of that Melanie has expressed, and Edwin, as well as Paul. And if I understood what they're saying, I'm wondering if, while not as catchy, something such as hiving, a hive, for example, which plays into the whole thing that something is kind of vibrating and growing, you know, like a hive of bees or something. It's a term I think that Jonathan Haidt uses. I'll stop there to give Sally a chance.
Okay, you came up with an idea of hiving and something where there's actually something growing and developing, and you just wanted to throw out the idea of something that was not as intimidating to some people. How was that?
That was good. That I feel heard. I feel heard there. And also something I think that plays into, so there's a few things that I'm trying to pull together here, like certain metaphors. One is the nature. One is the distributed nature of things, like a network, or and sort of a distributed decision-making cognition aspect as well. And I'll stop there to allow Sally to reflect back at me.
Okay, so what you're looking for is something that connects nature with a network, and the network with cognition that is carried through the community that's involved in this endeavor.
Yes, that's what I said. Yes, and part of that. So there's a part of this distribution starts to play into democracy, the rule of the people, and that comes through on the distribution or the collectivity, the collectiveness of it. And there's a collective cognition or a distributed cognition that plays into this democratic process. And as people are connected and interconnected through threads this network that's being woven, in much the same way that this empathy circle is working, there's a rhythm here. Every 4 minutes, there's a reflectiveness that's going back. And within these 4-minute periods, somebody stops talking and has it get reflected back to them. So there's a pulsing that's going on in this network. And through this pulsing, there's a synchronization. And through that synchronization, you get this hive switch, which very careful here, this can go into very democratic processes, but it can also switch into like fascist tendencies, like groupthink and this sort of thing. So this is another fine line that I think that we have to be concerned about. And I think Jonathan Haidt talks about this hive switch, but I'll stop there. I've spoken far too much, and my time is up. But I guess if you try to reflect back at me, Sally.
It's very complex. It sounds like the hive can go either towards democracy or fascism. And so this interconnectedness of what you're going to be teaching in this will ultimately allow or create, develop a network that allows the cognition for the change that's necessary for the hive to go in a healthy direction. It's really interesting. Sorry if I didn't grasp everything, but
No. You did beautifully, Sally. Thank you. I feel heard.
And now you select who you'd like to speak to, Sally.
You want me to be the speaker?
Right, and you select. It's Dan, Edwin, me, Paul, or Melanie. You can select one of us to talk to.
Well, I don't have to be the timer because I don't have a...
No, Dan's taking the time.
I'm the timer. You just have to be the speaker.
You just speak, yeah, like Dan said.
Okay, and the guy that I just talked to was...
Dan.
Dan? Yeah, I'd like to continue with Dan.
Okay.
Well, I don't know, the idea of an army caught me and inspired me to participate because I'm just so angry at everything that's going on. I never read the teachings that derive the hive concept, and I don't know if the other people would be drawn to that. If I was to put my own perspective on it, I would do something that grasps as many people as possible without offending them, which I don't know, maybe Marshall had some ideas, or, you know, I've read, I think, all of Martin Luther King's books, and
Sally, maybe you want to pause for a second to give Dan a chance to reflect that.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
okay.
It's really hard.
Okay. So what I heard was that that for you, Sally, the army inspired you. It was an inspiring image that brought you to action, inspired you to join, and inspired you to act. And that I felt when you said that you were very angry, I felt a heaviness with that. I felt that this anger is something very real for you, that you're very angry with everything that's going on. And I guess if I heard you correctly, I got the sense that you have some skepticism about whether the hive concept or perhaps even some of nature-based concepts would be inspiring enough to capture a broad enough group of people to join, and that perhaps you're also concerned that some other terms or metaphors may offend some people or push some people away. And then you started to talk about Marshall. I'm not sure who the Marshall was, and that maybe MLK, Martin Luther King, Dr. Martin Luther King had something to say about these matters.
That was good. Let me just say that Marshall Rosenberg formed the nonviolent communication. This whole effort originated from him, and over the course of his adult career, there's probably a term, but then there's also terms that come from Martin Luther King or from Gandhi himself. And but I really think that, okay.
Why don't you just finish that thought, Sally?
Yeah, I really think that we need to just go on with the trainings and stuff and kind of move until we need to change it to something that is a little bit more acceptable, or, growth. I'm not sure we want to spend too much time on it, but then I'm kind of retired and may not have the same of the, sorry, I'm going on and the timer went off. So
yeah, Dan will just reflect the final part.
Just reflect. So you were mentioning, you clarified that you were referring to Marshall Rosenberg with nonviolent communication, and that I guess that he got this from Dr. Martin Luther King, who was involved with the nonviolent protest movement, and then as well as Gandhi, who was also involved with that movement. And that you felt, what I heard you say is that you felt that we shouldn't spend too much time with this. We should get on with the training and get on with the action. And as we go through this, and as we learn more about what we're doing and each other and ourselves, that the appropriate term will sort of, I'm going to use my own word here, emerge from our activities.
I don't want to offend anyone, but yes, I was heard.
Thank you.
Okay, Dan, so you just select who you're going to speak to?
I'd like to speak to Paul.
Okay, thanks, Dan.
Okay. I'm going to take a moment here. I feel, given what Sally shared, and given that Melanie also left, I feel that it's the appropriate time to shift to a kind of a different topic. So I'm going to take a deep breath here and see if some other topic comes to mind where we can get back on track to the the task at hand, the original task.
So you want to take a bit of a breather. Melanie's left, and you just want to just take a pause for yourself so that you can get onto maybe a different topic to let the previous topic settle and see where that leads.
Okay, so another kind of thing that I'd like to mention is that this is my first contact with XR. I've been following the actions of XR for a while, and I have been I admire their forceful stance, but so I feel like I'm on kind of a narrow edge here, that I can propose a lot of things, but I also feel like an outsider. So take that as it is.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing there is your first actual involvement directly with XR. You've been an admirer from a distance, but you're saying that you feel a little bit of an outsider, so you're on a bit of an edge there in terms of, my sense is understanding, more about the organization in terms of them being able to make suggestions.
Yeah. I guess so. So my next shares are going to be with regard to tangible steps to build this XR hive army, or whatever we want to call it. I will be speaking with very little knowledge of XR, but will speak with just my general understanding of my amateur understanding and studies of maybe how social movements spread and things of this nature.
Okay, so you're going to be generating some ideas from your position of almost like of a layperson regarding building movements, yep, I think that probably sums it up. Does that sum it up, or did I miss something?
Yeah, I think that sums it up.
Okay,
that sums it up.
Far away.
And I think that these empathy circles, I think from what I've been seeing with my own reading and studying and activities, is that I think it's a balance between building a meta narrative of some sort together with practices such as these empathy circles, or what Professor John Verviaki kind of calls psychotechnologies. That we create a narrative that takes us to a new psychotechnology. The psychotechnology kind of evolves our thinking. We build on the narrative, and we keep going back and forth between these things.
So what I'm hearing there is you're saying that your experience, the twin approach of building a meta narrative, as you called it, and then practice within that meta narrative. It seems like what you're saying, that both of those are really fundamental. And you referred to the phrase psychotechnology, which I guess sums up what that is, those two together. Would that be right?
Yeah, I guess that would be right, yeah. Well, perfect timing.
Oh, I want to hear more. You're just getting going. Yeah, hopefully we can get around it. We'll have time to go around again, so I'll be looking forward to hearing more about that. Edwin?
Yes, listening.
Okay. So very briefly, I was very moved by what you said, Sally. So I really appreciated your input on that. And I'm really keen to hear more about what you just said, Dan. That sounds really exciting. I really want to get my teeth into what your perspective is. So yeah,
yes, I really appreciate what Sally was saying, and really curious about sinking your teeth into what Dan said, get deeper into it.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm going to move the conversation on, but just to wrap up on the last one, I think that definitely be up for reviewing this, and I think a new term may emerge. Hopefully it will, and I'd love it to do. And I think we should do that in the process, which is reflective of the quality of democratic process. So an online poll isn't it. This kind of conversation very much is. So I'd be up for creating something like that in due course.
So you see, looking at this topic of the naming is a poll is not a good way to do it, but sort of a democratic process like we're doing here, you feel is a constructive way forward.
Yeah.
Way to approach it and see what emerges. There's an emergent quality to it.
Yeah, thanks, Edwin. Yeah, just picking up on what you were saying, Dan, it's really got me thinking. I think this whole idea of a meta narrative is fundamental. As you said it, then it just seems really clear, because we need to have a sense of understanding about what it is we're doing in order to be able to take action congruently. I think that's a fundamental.
Mm-hmm. So having that meta narrative, you really have a sense of the importance of it, because it sort of guides what we do, guides the actions that we take.
Yeah, and it has to be something that this is where, I guess, if I'm going to ask the question again, you say, well, what is it that there's people who want to get out there and do stuff? This is the challenge, is how do we actually facilitate action? So I ran a session in St. Albans yesterday, relatively easy to run, and I feel that we've got the capacity to facilitate those kind of resources being disseminated to lots of people, and then them just being run. So instead of we running 2 sessions about the general election, we run 100, and then things will start to happen. But what I don't know is what people need to do that.
Mm-hmm. So there's something about wanting people to take action, and you're wanting to, sounds like, replicate the type of workshop that you were doing or the process you were doing, and how to replicate it and get a lot of people, hundreds of these events sort of happening, and how to replicate it. You're just sitting with the question, how to spread it.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think that we've still got that in our toolkit. You know, we've got the ability to create these conversations of the month that are just ready to go packs or resources. And then if we rolled it out effectively with workshops like this and really kept plugging away, you know, we'd get maybe 10 going, and then maybe 20, and then it might then build up momentum. That's the kind of movement, kind of technology kicking in.
Mm-hmm. So I think you're saying you have different topics, and you think that if you can get these topics going with like dialogues, and then it'll sort of build, there'd be more building on these different topics.
Yeah. And yeah, that's it.
Oh, okay.
Good timing.
Then I'll speak to Sally. You there?
Okay, I'm here.
Okay. I was just going to build on the comments about the action that Paul was talking about. So I want to just, a lot of times the empathy itself, you know, the listening is seen as not the action. And I want to say, I want to give some credit to just being empathic is very action, is a form of action.
Well, so am I the
Yeah,
listener
you're reflecting.
or the speaker?
You're the listener.
Oh, okay. So what you're saying, what Paul said, is that, well, you know, that he's trying to make it into actions with just from, you know, a few circles to spreading out to groups, who knows, internationally.
I think it's this notion of what is action, like what is action? Because I do hear that Paul really wants to take action, and I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, we have to take action." So it's really, what is action? Is my question.
So are you asking me what the action is?
I'm throwing it out. Just if you reflect my question, I'll feel heard.
Okay. Do you want to talk about what is action then?
Yeah, I'm wanting to sort of I'm wanting to explore what is action, and I do want to give credit to empathy being a form of action, Because sometimes empathy is seen as, oh, it's just something we do, but the real action is putting stamps on envelopes, going out, doing a demonstration, knocking on doors, making phone calls. All these things are sort of seen as action. And I just want to make the case that empathy is perhaps one of the most powerful forms of action there is, and it gets overlooked.
Okay, so I heard you say that you wanted to talk about what is action.
Mm-hmm.
That action is, that empathy is quite a bit more than just sitting in a restorative circle, although that is significant in itself, but there's also, going to protests, putting stamps on envelopes, and communicating with people. Did I do that?
Yeah, it's sometimes empathy gets discounted as being an action, and I think it shouldn't be discounted.
Okay. Well, what you're saying is that empathy should not be discounted as an action, that it has a rainbow of effects on people's lives.
Exactly, yeah. So, there's a lot, I'm into action too, getting things done, but I always want to hold that, the importance of sort of an empathic connection with people, because it really creates the framework, the foundation for constructive action other actions going forward.
So you want empathy to be a constructive effort towards actions that will occur in the future.
Yeah,
with this effort.
I feel fully heard. Thank you. So it's your turn to speak, Sally. You can speak to Dan or to Paul.
Sure. How about I spoke to Dan last, right? Then I'm getting a little bit hot. Does anyone want to take my place, or?
You can just speak to to Paul, and then just say something. He'll reflect back, and you can say you're fully heard. It's a way to pass on your turn.
Okay. Well, I do have my own opinions about empathy that kind of flashed through my mind, listening to you, and anyway, yeah, it's really kind of training for a movement that could expand. I know I'm going way off base, but I just remember Marshall stories about him being in various different countries and using nonviolent communication to get groups, Palestinians and Israelis, for instance, to talk together. And this might be needed, but it's so complex anyway. But the efforts of the founding people could then possibly be carried on to maybe more complex situations.
Okay, should I reflect back at that bit, Sally? Oh.
I'm here. I'm here.
Okay, sorry, just checking you could hear me. So you were sharing your own views on empathy off the back of what Edwin was saying, and you see that as very much a training for the movement. And then you referred again to Marshall Rosenberg's nonviolent communication work and how it's so powerful in terms of getting groups to talk to each other, to connect. And you gave a couple of examples. And what I'm hearing was that your sense is that there's a real wisdom in that for getting the founding principles and people to provide the way forward for the rest of the movement. It's important work, some sense you're saying.
Yes, you heard me. And I do feel complete with that.
Great, okay. So you feel fully heard?
Yes.
Magic. Thanks, Sally. Should I go next, Dan? I'll go next. I'll talk to you if that's all right.
Okay, yeah.
Just trying to reflect back on where I was and where I am now. Yeah, I totally resonate with what you said, Edwin, about empathy being action. And yeah, this is all part of that. So it's that. I mean, I get so excited about the possibilities. I've had quite a challenging day today, feeling a little bit unsure about certain things, and as now I'm in this process, I'm feeling heard. I'm feeling more alive. I'm feeling more connected. I'm feeling around people that I can learn a lot from, and this is it in action for me.
What I heard, Paul, is that you needed to collect your thoughts, and that you really resonated with Edwin's share that empathy is action, that they're coincident, they're one and the same, and then you were excited by the possibilities, and that today you were feeling maybe a little, my own word here, a little deflated from what happened today for you after a long day, and connecting this empathy circle with the four of us, you feel a little bit, you feel inspired and reinvigorated.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess that's a kind of returning to this inquiry, really. I mean, so keen to understand how we can support people, because if anybody comes along and says, I'd really like to run one of these sessions, whatever session it is, I'll be just saying, well, just anything I can do, anything at all we can do to support you, then let's do that. And then learn from that, do that work, and then pass that on to the next people. So yeah, I guess I'm a little bit kind of, anxious isn't the right word, but curious as to, well, what do we need to do to get it done, to get it started? And we're doing it. It's happening now. So
what I heard is that you're keen to understand, I guess, what's happening at some level, what's happening and what could happen. And you expressed, from what I understand, a particular, there was this particular intentionality or direction to what you said, in the sense of how can we support newcomers in this practice? and that you know, whatever you can do to help them to do this, I feel it's almost like a calling of some sort that you're drawn to want to support it because you feel that this is the work in some sense.
Yeah.
The essence of it.
Thank you. Yeah. And I'm just acknowledging also that because I've been doing this for years, I don't know what it would mean, or what do we have to tell people to, you know, why they don't want to do it. So I'm not the best person to ask that question because I've just been doing it for so long. And just going back to your meta narrative, I think it's the narrative around what it is. How it makes complete sense to me. If we got a climate crisis, I go out and do democracy, but I don't think that makes sense to the majority of people. So that's when you say meta narrative, I wonder if that's what it is. You know, that's what we need to get right.
Okay. So what I heard was, you've been doing this for a number of years. It makes intuitive sense to you when there's a climate crisis or other kinds of crises that are happening that are tied to this. You feel democracy is the answer, and that these sorts of practices, such as empathy circling and global collaboration in general, I guess, that this is the way to solve the problem. But you're concerned that this intuitive leap that this is my own word projecting on you, but I'm owning it, that perhaps this intuitive leap for you may be a huge gulf for other people, and you're wondering how that can work, and maybe meta narrative plays some kind of a role in that, if I understood that.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. I need you to come with me everywhere. I've got this to say. Can you just find the words to say it? you can tell the world about it.
Well,
bless you.
I feel touched by that. I'd like to speak to Edwin.
Mm-hmm. Listening.
Let me. Okay. I was really touched by what Paul shared there, and I'm talking to you, Edwin, but I'm also, because that was such a it was so relevant. Paul's shares and what we're talking about are so relevant to my own thinking that I'm also kind of talking to him at the same time.
So you're really touched by what Paul said, and you're sort of talking to him through me. You just wanted to make that known, that you're speaking to him now.
Yeah. In some, to kind of tie this up, to tie the thread here, empathy is the action, it's the work, it's the essence of all of the practices that we're going to develop organically in a kind of a Taoist fashion. It's just going to happen, right? And the meta narrative is also going to be happening at the same time. And the last thing, the dialogue, your comment, the comments that Paul was making with regard to that, I got the sense that he found that I was finding words for what he was expressing. That's going both ways. That empathy, that's going, you're helping me, I'm helping you, and the meta narrative is being created right now. Everything is happening simultaneously.
So you're having this the thing about the practices and the meta narrative, that it's in a relationship and it's happening at the same time. So and you're seeing the empathy is sort of core to all these different practices, and it's sort of this back and forth between the two, that they're both happening at the same time. So the meta narrative is being developed in this discussion as well.
Right. So as far as the idea, I'm thinking, as far as the idea of how to support people and how to attract people, I don't think that we need to really concern ourselves with that. In some sense, we focus on, there's a relevance that each one of us is going to have that's been attracted to these. For whatever reason, we're now here in this session with each other. And we focus on what is most salient or relevant to us in the moment. And as long as we keep doing that and keep perfecting these skills, these other things will start to happen.
So you really see that the way of sort of, like Paul was talking about, how do we kind of reach out to other people, get them involved, and you're saying it's really about us, really connecting with what's alive in us and sort of real for us, and just having these dialogues, and it sort of kind of spreads out from there. It's like that's where it starts.
However, and I wish I had a little bit more time because this is something that I wanted to kind of get into earlier. I was triggered by this. However, Sherry Berman wrote an interesting article in Social Europe, and it was titled Interregnum or Transformation. And we have to have, to go back to your Bucky Fuller reference, Paul, we have to have a vision of what we're going for. And that's what I think the general movement is lacking.
Yeah, so there's another aspect to this, which is about the vision. You're referencing someone who sort of made the case for this. You think that there is this vision that is missing, that it's another piece of the puzzle.
I feel.
Okay. Oh, well, I'll speak back to you then. Because that really got me going too about the vision, because that's exactly what we have a group that's been working on, is a vision of a culture of empathy. Because I agree with that it's that having this vision that we sort of are moving towards that kind of gives sort of an impetus, a shared impetus, energy. And for me, that is what I call it, a culture of empathy.
So what I heard was that you picked me because you picked me as the active listener because the term vision resonated highly with you, because that is how you are orienting yourself to build a culture of empathy. You're defining it, you're making it attractive, and this is what this is what you feel is kind of pulling people into this movement.
And the vision needs to be better articulated. And I think you'd be a good person to work with on this video. I really enjoy your writing, that you write it, you're good at articulating a lot of this. So it's, and I think it's part of like holacracy that XR is using, that you have the vision and then people can self-organize towards that vision. If you have a good, clear vision, and so it doesn't have to be so top down. As long as people sort of buy into the vision, they can autonomously self-organize towards this vision. So having this vision is, pretty, I see the real importance of it.
So what I'm hearing is that the vision is vital. If one subscribing to a natural model of self-organization or autopoietic processes, that emergent processes, that if you define that vision, and again I'm throwing something out here, you don't need guiders and coaches and managers. If you trust in the emergence, you just need to work on continuing to clarify this vision, and this clarification of the vision the people will self-organize to realize this vision.
And the thing with the culture of empathy is the means are the end. So we're kind of doing the means right now. It's not like we have to do something else to get to the means. We sort of are doing a culture of empathy right here by listening to each other and hearing each other. And so there is sort of so it's doing empathy with our intention of creating a more empathic, culture within the four of us here. And sort of what is that culture? If part of it is everyone feeling heard, seen to their satisfaction is one piece of it.
Okay, so what I'm hearing you say is that in developing this practice of this empathy circling as the centerpiece of practicing cultures of empathy, the means is the end. Mm-hmm. We are in the process of realizing what we want to realize.
Yeah, and I feel a sense of connection with everyone here. It's like, I'm feeling a little bit of a relaxation and in one's kind of a warmth. It's kind of in this part of my body, feeling kind of warm and and it's kind of trickling out. So
So what I heard you say is that this. That you're starting to feel very warm, you're feeling very connected, and to everyone here.
Mm-hmm. And I feel fully heard, and I think we probably have time for you to do one round before we go back to the larger group.
Okay, let me just set the timer. So what I
who are you speaking to?
I'm speaking to Paul.
Okay.
So this is playing with continuing this vision theme that I have a fear that this vision needs to be at its fundamental level. It is what Edwin is sharing, culture of empathy. But I also think we're dealing with an economic system, we're dealing with an economic idea, an economic system and a political ideology. And if we do not define clearly an economic system and a political ideology that is that fits with a sustainable world, then we will stay in this in-between state, and democracy will not be possible, and fascism and violence will likely take hold.
Right. So regarding vision, you've got a little bit of fear. Definitely, we've got the culture of empathy, and we're creating that. But considering the economic system and the political system that we have, there is a real need. What you're saying is, there's a real need to define the kind of economic vision, that's my word, and political vision, or else within that particular paradigm, we're not going to get the kind of democracy that we're looking for. And it's kind of leading down the path towards fascism.
Yeah. It's we will slide. We'll end up with, some kind of, if we're lucky, we'll end up with possibly some sort of progressive liberalism, if even such a thing exists. But I think that the data is showing, essentially going back to this Socratic, what Bucky Fuller and Socrates, both of them said in different ways. If you want to change the system, don't fight the old system, create a new system that makes the old system obsolete, which I think you were referring to earlier. And if we do not define something to replace neoliberalism or liberal democracy, that, representative liberal democracy, we don't end up defining it, people will just continue to do what they've been doing. And we will continue to have a system that is incompatible with well-being for people on the planet.
So I'm hearing a strong desire for a vision. I think this feels like it's all within the context of vision, because your fear is, that has to be, in your view, much clearer, is what I'm hearing. Otherwise, we're just going to get this progressive liberalism, which is not really going to cut the mustard. And if we were going back to Buckminster Fuller, we've really got to build a new solution to make the this existing one obsolete. And what it sounds like you're saying is neoliberalism has got an arm lock on the culture, and unless we have a vision that is replacement of that, we're going to struggle.
I feel like the let's say, and I'm using this term very loosely, but I feel that, let's say, the activists, the progressive activists in the world, as an aggregate, are far too timid about setting out visions and terms such as, you know, democracy at work, or platform cooperativism, or, you know, throwing out models, real models that will challenge what we have, to get people's minds to move to start considering the other, something else, right? The fuller other, let's say.
So what I'm hearing there is that again, there's a fear of the progressive activists, in your words, are too timid to really say, almost, this is ours. We actually need to change this. This is a big change, and we're not going to be able to do it without it. My sense is, because you're saying that there's some kind of fear there that it won't be accepted, but my sense of what you're saying is that, well, we've got to do it because it's not going to happen without it. So without that, we're not going to. Was there anything else I missed there?
No, we got to get back to the main group. Sorry,
I think you got it. I feel heard.
Right.
We can follow up. Sorry to kind of, but we just.
How cool is this? This is amazing. Thank you.
There you go. We have 1 minute. They're going to be popping in over the next.
Oh, okay.
Maybe they have something that ends, so can kind of finish up here.
Yeah. Can I just tie it back to what Edwin was saying, Paul?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, basically, again, with the vision idea, like to parallel, if Edwin doesn't have a clear understanding, and he's not increasingly iterating on what is a culture of empathy and what is the empathy circle practice, or what are the supporting practices, and you know, if he's not daily or weekly getting clearer and clearer on this, go on.
But we'll have a feedback. You can kind of give it a
Okay.
minute. So people are popping in. Is everybody here? We have Bill? Yeah, okay. So we wanted.
You can stop.
Oh yeah, you can. Bill and Lou, if you're recording, you can stop the recording.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
I never started the recording in my session. Oh my God.
Uh-oh.
Wow.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Then
the number of times I've done that.
Yeah, that happens.
Wow, I feel terrible.
Hopefully you took notes.
I did.
Okay, then we're good.
Some.
I have impression that Franek wants to say something.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I will have to go. It was really nice to talk with you guys, but I have some stuff that I have to take care of.
Do you want to take 1 minute before you go to just debrief what your experience was?
Yeah, gladly. So
1 minute, Bill. Could you time, or did you have a timer?
No, actually, yeah. So just 1 minute. All right. What I took is, it was many things that I took from the meeting, but the most important for me is a self-support group, and I'm really glad that we are talking about this. That there are other people that think like me, and the other thing was that I'm really happy to see. It's a basic one. I'm just really happy to see people doing stuff, and that's kind of new for me. and that's it. That's it for me.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Bye, guys.
Thank you, Franek.
Thank you, Franek.
And Bill was going to just call on people, give each person, I think, about a minute.
Sure.
I can keep time.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Carolina will take time.
Okay, great. Dan? Yeah, Dan, I'm sorry, do I have two Dans?
Just a minute to debrief. What was the experience? What were the ideas that came up for you, and any tangible steps you'd like to take?
Okay, and you want me to speak?
Yes, you get 1 minute just to sort of debrief. And he's going to just call on people across the row here.
Okay. I guess the big theme for me, and I'm going to, was that vision kind of came up, both and an vision and an interweaving of several things that are happening simultaneously. So within vision, clarity is required, both in terms of what do we mean by a culture of empathy and what are the practices that support that, such as this empathy circle, and also vision with regard to the need to clarify very clearly and take a stance as an emergent quality of the community to define what economic system or political system or models are we going to support. Because without a vision on either of these things, we are going to stay in a state of chaos and violence. And I guess that's my minute.
Sure. Okay. Sally, how about you?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
I just wanted to say that I believe that what Dan said was correct, and that as a planner, I was a planner for 25 years, and I'm familiar with agencies and companies. They all have visions. There's much more involved than just a vision, but I don't think that Marshall Rosenberg ever went in that direction. And this is so complex that I would think you would break it into compartments and have visions for separate aspects. And then you have objectives and goals. I mean, goals and objectives. But
okay.
Because I'm a planner, and that's what I learned.
Okay. All right. Paul.
Thanks. Got a real lot from the session. Really appreciate this conversation. Yes, we really got into vision in our group. I was in with Dan and Sally and Edwin, and yeah, it's got me. I felt resonated with a lot of what was being spoken about, the magnitude of the task and the really us walking the talk of living the end state we're looking for, and to what extent that is true, that you really can't do what we're trying to do and hold a vision of democracy when there's so much of the existing system still playing, we're still playing in that game. So it's a little bit kind of theoretical in that respect to what you're hearing probably from this conversation, but it seems very profound for me. And then the other aspect which came through really powerfully was that we're doing it now. We're doing this now. So we are in action, and this is such an honor to be around this conversation.
Great. Okay, Justin, how about you?
Yeah, I'm just I was really impressed. Big takeaway. I was really impressed with what Lou is doing in the north part of the San Francisco Bay Area, of just getting people in a room together and not really calling it empathy, but just saying like, hey, a discussion, like keeping it really like medium, so as not to scare away people who don't want to be vulnerable too quickly. And I mean, just as I see it, you know, we live these isolated, comfortable lives, you know, even if you're like middle class or working class, to get other people physically in a room, your neighbors, I think is just awesome. That's first order of business.
Great. Okay. Lou?
So I really had a good conversation this morning. I really enjoyed being with all three of the people that I was with and learning about them and hearing from them. Some of the notes I made when we were talking were that keeping it simple. So these are some of the things that are important in spreading practices widely, is keeping it simple. Finding a way to balance the understanding and empathy with doing and action. You know, like both of those things are needed. So we need people connecting and understanding each other, but we also need people taking actions. And how do we balance those two things? How does empathy or the empathy circle practice fit in the circle of regeneration? Regenerative circle. I don't know exactly if I'm using the right terms, but that was talked about. And then I want to say, though, the risk about a vision. So I'm also big on visioning too. I think it's really good, very important to get clear about what we're trying to do and what our values are. But I also think that there's a risk in defining a vision. Well, so the risk in defining a vision.
Want to keep us on time. So.
Yeah, sorry. Okay.
Okay.
Well, so let me just try to say that thing. So creating something and asking everyone to join it has the idea of that everybody's going to join one thing. And my life experience is that nobody's ever going to join one thing. And that it's very powerful to define a set of values and look for those values and bring them forward in existing systems. And that's how you can get people to join you without having to join your club. Yeah, so, and the Charter for Compassion is a good example of that.
Okay, great. Peter.
Yeah, hi everyone. Yeah, I really enjoyed the conversation. It's the first time I've ever done an empathy circle, so yeah, feeling very heard, which is great. We talked very much about the practicalities of how we might implement these this process. I shared some of the work that I've been doing around participatory democracy, participatory budgeting and community organising that has led to communities and schools declaring a climate emergency, which then leads to them setting up an action group and wanting then to develop a climate and ecological action plan. And at that point, you need facilitators. So the one idea is potentially to support communities and schools and groups to declare climate emergency, and then you're going to need an army of facilitators to basically enable and facilitate all of those conversations around the individual action plans. There were lots of other skills that came up in the conversation. Jane was talking very much about other things that we could, dialogue tools like, okay, got you, role modeling and peer support, and really great facilitation is absolutely key to the process. And I'd love to build that into the community organising model that we've been working on.
Great, thank you. Jane. You're muted, Jane.
Sorry. Yeah, it was great to be in the conversation. I really enjoyed it. I came out with 3 things. One is a renewed intention to continue with the processes that I'm involved in where I live, which is helping people to learn to communicate and to learn to facilitate. The second thing is the conversation with Peter led me to have ideas for how we can enable people who are doing things that we all want to hear about, ways of having them share those ideas in a way that's very participatory and that everybody can learn from. I felt like I wanted to break out of the process of reflection at some point so that we could actually have more discussion, which is not to negate the deep listening process. I think it's fantastic, but I also would be really interested in talking with people in this group in other ways as well.
Great, thank you, Jane. Okay, Carolina?
Well, I had in points, I see region culture as an environment, natural environment for developing facilitators swarm, I would say, not army, but swarm. Then obviously support group for facilitators, peer support or support group for facilitators. And what came to me, there was some agreement. Well, some people say that self-assessment tools, for example, the set of skills facilitators have to get to be good facilitators can be useful. And for example, role-playing people's assembly and role-playing citizens assembly would be nice thing. And role-playing with rough participants could be also useful. Rogue participants. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Anna?
Yes, so I think our conversation revolved more around how do we just do it, and like Lou said, it's about keeping it really simple and just bringing that to the community. That helped me clarify, and then we had a little conversation about is it good enough to just connect, or do we also need to have actions? And for me personally, that helped me clarify that it's good enough to start with just simply building connection that would naturally lead to actions according to people's capacity. So that was very, very encouraging for me. And just continuing to work with that simplicity and the things that are how this is a very sensual process, and this it really takes you out to slow down and listen to people. So I think that in itself will create more connections. Yeah, that's it for me.
Okay, great, thank you. And Joe?
Yeah, hello. I found out very interesting this part of empathy circles, where you get everybody together, you bring up some sense of community and build trust without a particular objective. So people get to know each other, to understand each other. That you're more able to maybe the outside. Maybe we have this climate crisis and all these things. So as soon as we understand our community and the people around us, maybe through these empathy circles, it is to take the next step and say, look, now we together can take a new direction or a new action. So thinking about actions, I think this would be quite a very interesting tool, I think.
Thanks, Joe. Okay. Well, I was really interested. I felt that I learned a lot. And from listening to everybody in my group, I really enjoyed them. And I really feel that the empathy circle is an excellent way to kind of start to build that community. And then everything goes from that. And I was getting a broader view on where the empathy circle fits in. And that is about, you know, people talk about simplicity and support and building community, feeling safe, and then going out from that, you know, basis, strong basis, into the world. So I really appreciated that. And Edwin?
Okay. So in our group, I just mentioned, we did start with the term, we had a bit of, began with the discussion about the naming of the army, or, you know, what they call it, the hive or swarm. So we discussed that a bit. And then we got into the importance of meta-narratives and practices and how they relate to each other. And we moved into, you know, talking about a vision and the different qualities of a vision, which is something that really spoke to me. And going forward, you know, I'm going to be continuing personally to be working on hosting these empathy cafes, spreading the word, getting the word out, inviting people, developing the practice. And so that's a real focus of mine. And in terms of the action, you know, what are tangible steps in the closing minutes here? I thought we could actually do something. I mean, take some, you know, lick some envelopes here, put some stamps, knock on some doors, and invite friends to the next event. And so we have our, I just put the link in there to the next event that we have coming up, the next Empathy Cafe. And this is, it's on Facebook, so you can actually click on that link and it will bring you to the Empathy Circle, Empathy Cafe Facebook event. And the next one is December 21st, and then we have one January 8th. And so what you can do is, even if you want to do it right now, you can click on Invite Friends, and that will bring up you know, a list of your friends, and it gives you suggestions. And I've created a group here. These are some people who are sort of doing leadership work around XR. And if you have less than like 200 people in a list, you can just select all, and it will invite all of them. And I've created a list of XR people, and there's about 400. Oh, there's Paul, he's selected. So you can go through and just start clicking on them, because these are all people interested in XR. And then it goes, you can go in, and then sometimes if you invite a lot of people like I do, Facebook will put a limit here, but otherwise you can do like up to like 3 or 4, even 500 people. So then go in and send invites. And this is sending each of them an invite. So you can actually do that right now if you want to do something tangible. The link is there. And then you can do that for each event. And so you can do it for the January event. It'd be the same thing, you know, invite friends, and then just remind them, click that, send all. So it's a good way of spreading the word, you know, personally. It not only gets them aware of, you know, about the next event, but kind of reminds them about the XR. So it kind of is getting the word out there. You can also, at the same place, share as a post. So I'm sharing to here, join us, you know, next week. And this will go to my, you can go in and you can share it to a group, you know, go to any groups that you're part of. You can share it to a friend's timeline, or just share it on your own page. So I'm just gonna post this, and it's gonna pop up on my home page. So that's it. I hope if you're feeling motivated to go do that, even like right now, it'd be great to do it. Invite everybody, you know, 400 people to the next next event. And it is like it's December 21st. It's going to be a Saturday, so we're going to try out like how does Saturday work for one of these calls. So thank you everyone for taking part, and yeah, looking forward to seeing you next time. There's in the, I mean, before we go, in the shared document that we had at the top, you'll see it, there's a space for the facilitators to upload their video. So I'm putting that link there. That's And there's some more information there about sort of deep technical details like that. And we'll be uploading all this to a, to a web page and all the notes and the videos and stuff shortly. So, yep, that's it. So thank you very much. Looking forward to seeing you again.
So I just wanted to say, Justin, Joe, and Anna, thanks for being in a circle with me. And if you want to contact me, my email's in the document that the link that Edwin posted. If you want to contact me.
And if you want other people to contact you, you can put your contact info in there too.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Cool.
So we can stop recording.
Oh yes, thank you. Stop recording.